Hey folks, welcome. We are GrownAGeeks. This is our X-Men 97 Season 1 review. We're going to talk about the entire season and that wonderful finale. Joining me tonight, we have the marvelous Miss Kennedy. Miss Kennedy, how you doing tonight, Teresa?
Parade wave.
Great.
I'm great.
Wonderful. Awesome to hear it. Insert cool nickname, Miss Brandy. What's going on?
Hi, everybody.
RG3000, Cashmere the Pro. Say what's up.
You know what it is. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, and we're just here ready to talk about some X.
And joining me, as always, my co-host, my buddy, Jeffrey, JPNT17. Say what's up, man.
What's up, guys?
So we're going to be talking about the entire Season 1 of X-Men 97. If you like about it, we'll give a quick little grade, brief synopsis why we gave that grade, and then we'll go into some more particulars about the show. But let's just start off with overall grade. We'll just go right across in order here. So, Miss Teresa, what would you give a grade? This season, she's babysitting. She's got some company right now.
No, you ain't see how fast she whipped her head around.
What's the scale?
So you choose the scale that you want to use. If you want to do 1 out of 10.
I was thinking like school grades. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, he did say grade. Okay. I will go A-.
A-. Good praise. Good praise. A little bit what gives it such a high score for you? What would it stick out?
I watched X-Men. What was the original one called? Was it just the X-Men? I don't know. I'm confused.
Yeah.
X-Men, the
Okay.
animated series.
I watched that one, and actually it was before we even knew about X-Men 97. So, it's not like I was trying to rush through it and prepare for X-Men 97. So I watched the first series, and there's a lot more episodes of that one than this one, but some of them I wasn't really interested,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And with this one, I feel like I was more invested. I feel like the writing was really good. At the end of almost every show, I was like, "Ooh, I can't wait till next Wednesday." So I feel like the writing was really good. They had some great cliffhangers, but the minus is on there because I feel like the finale was a little all over the place.
Okay.
And that is for me as a non-comic book reader. As I mentioned in the pre-show, there's probably some stuff that y'all understand that I don't. So hopefully you will explain it to me because, I'm a little confused.
Not a problem. We'll have a section for that and see if we can't clarify. Brandy, what was your grade for the season? Brief synopsis.
Well, now I feel bad because my grade for the season is a B+.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. No, sorry.
I really enjoyed the show. I was all in from the beginning. Well, not all in from the beginning. I'm not gonna lie. I walked into it with a little hesitation, but from the very first episode, I was in. The nostalgia is great. I feel like they really, really did a great job of picking up where the show left off, but making it better and making it age appropriate for the original audience, which I appreciated. I love the character development. Some of it was just the pacing for me. Sometimes the pacing would just be really abrupt, like especially in the finale. There was just things that happened that it was like, oh, this is well, and also I didn't like that so many characters were gone for a lot of the show. So, but I enjoyed it. Do not get me wrong. I definitely
B+. Let me tell you
I'm
something.
going to watch it every Wednesday. I'm going to be there. I can't wait for season 2. I'm super invested, but I did have the tiniest of critiques.
And those are fair critiques because the show was able to move it along. They got a lot put in 10 episodes. They got a lot put in those 10 episodes. So that's a fair critique. Right. RG, were we able to convert you with this? What is your final grade?
So I'm gonna keep it a buck. I actually am giving this an A- as well.
That's a 10 from the rest of judges.
Right.
Let me
I tried to on the phone.
I tried to hate. I tried so hard. I wanted to hate, but I gotta be honest. They accomplished what they wanted wanted to accomplish with this cartoon. I feel it picked up well. I have a lot of nostalgia because the 95 series was definitely one of my like favorite cartoon series, and they did a really good job with the animation, continuing the story. So the animation was a polished version of the original series. So it wasn't like super the way I'm used to with anime. It wasn't these really big transitions and this, like the color scheme would change and things like that. It was very consistent with what a cartoon and what the cartoon in back in the 90s was like. So I feel like they stayed true to that. One of the things that I used to have an issue with, like what Brandy brought up, was the quick resolution to everything. But the truth is that as a cartoon, that's what it was supposed to do. Given that I read the comics and I know how long the history is, I know how much potential there is for material, and I think everybody who watches it knows how much potential there is for all the material. But they did a very good job with giving you enough information so that the quick resolution to everything made sense. And then the way it would snowball and continue on that path, the way everything just continually escalated, the stakes got higher and higher and higher, that won me over. In addition to some absolutely fantastic writing along the way. The writing just got incredible and just stayed consistently good. So like the minus portion is just kind of basically for random weak moments of animation, and just every now and then sometimes things happened too quickly for belief, where they could have expanded on some things a little bit longer, maybe stretched it out to another episode or something. But that's the A- from the resident hater. Can't believe it.
High praise, still high praise. And again, I think a fair assessment, the pacing for the most part, but you definitely see and feel where boom, 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 boom. Now we're where we need to be. Plot devices just getting us to that.
Yeah.
Jeff, what is your grade for the season? In a brief synopsis.
My grade for the season is an A.
Okay.
It's just a solid A. I did not come in wanting to hate it, but I did come in with crossed arms. I had expectations. I have a childhood that just I needed this to go well. It's like the mythology that I am most invested in, like as a person since childhood, and this is my like entryway. This is a continuation of like my into, and I think it is one of the reasons why I love animation so much and still watch it to this day. So for it to come back, it was under a lot of pressure in my opinion, because it had to be good. Everybody was waiting to trash it, especially with the scandal that happened before with the showrunner being dismissed and everything like that. The culture we live in versus like the subject matter that the show is covering, like it had an uphill battle to climb in a lot of respects. And the fact that not only did I love it, but like most of the critique around it has been largely positive, to the point where like people are trying to get this dude brought back. They don't even know what he did. They don't care. Like that's when you made something good. Like
it can't be that bad, right?
I mean, ask R. Kelly. Like he basically stayed out of jail as long as he was making the jams, and then when that dried up, everybody was like, "We don't need to step in the name anymore." You got like when you making good stuff, people are very, very forgiving. Good or bad is not a critique on whether that's good or bad. It's just a critique on the fact that is, and it definitely did what it needed to do. Like RG said, I wish the season was longer. I'm sure they would have been able to stretch some more things out, but I think with the number of episodes that they had, the story that they tried to tell, even though there were choices that I didn't love or choices that I certainly would never have made in a million years, I respected those choices and the context that they were made in. Again, echoing Teresa, every week I think at the end of every episode I was just like shit, and I just had this. I watched the full credits. Like I watched like all the way through the whole credits because I just got to sit there at the end.
Good. I'm glad to hear you say that.
Yeah. So for me, it's an A. It would have been an A+ of Gambit.
Okay. Fair critique. I'm kind of with Brand. I gave it a B+.
Thank God.
No. I like, and for context, knowing that today was going to be the season finale and it was going to be the day that we recorded, I immediately came in and was like, "Hey, we got to go live. We got to do a live show. It's the season finale." I watched the season finale and I was like, y'all just record and we can edit it. I'm going to say some of the same critique. The pacing, they stuffed a lot of major story arcs into 10 episodes. And we're talking about stuffing arcs that could have been 10 episodes by themselves.
Yeah.
consolidated to half an episode. All credit to them being able to write the story in a way that you could condense it to such a short time period and make it make sense for the viewer. Part of the critique is, I guess, a little selfish in that this could have been a longer show. Some things could have been fleshed out a little bit better, and that would have given us a little bit more attached. The dialogue and the writing is definitely a big plus in what made the show enjoyable and one of the good things about it. As was mentioned, I like that the show grew up with us. I did not feel like I was watching Fox Kids. I felt like I was watching something made for me to watch. My only real major critique is I don't really care for the misdirection that the show did. And some of that is taking liberty with some of the stories. When you build them a certain way and then you present your own finale, when you present your own ending, I accept that. It's Bo DeMaio's writing. It's the team's writing. This is the story they told. It doesn't have to be page for page exactly like it was in the comic. That's fine. The story they told made sense. It's cohesive and it's coherent. So the decisions that were made are accepted, but you led everything to go this way and then you like pulled the rug out right at the end. And so now, of course, seeing that big to be continued, oh man, I haven't seen that in so long and it was a little disheartening. Now I gotta wait the rest of the show, find out how they're going to wrap up everything. I like that the show was able to kind of tie up all the loose ends, so to speak, right before giving us a loose end. And that to me is a little disjointed. Since we know there's a season 2 coming, I'm okay with that. But I've seen shows that did that and never got a season 2 canceled. And it pissed me off. And now I'm just sitting here like, what do we do?
You blaming, this is like, you can't blame the woman you with now for what somebody else did now.
Hold on. And that's why I'm saying,
because I saw the last episode of Sliders too, and I want to know what happened. But guess what?
I mean, we could go into what happens in the characters on Alphas, which was really a live action
Felt
version.
That way about Carnival.
But to this point, they wrapped up everything that happened on the show, and then in the last few moments, created a cliffhanger. You could have done anything else rather than just create that, and you still could have had the cliffhanger. But nonetheless, I give it a B+. It was a fantastic show. I'm going to be locked in. I will eagerly be anticipating every week when the episode drops, rushing home. I think overall, the show has a great score across the board. Like this is a pretty high average. Feels like the average is a A-. You got 2 B+, an A, and so it's like a 92 overall Metacritic. That's not bad for the show, and I'm really happy for it. One thing that everyone loved the most, and I'll let anybody take the floor for that. What was the one thing that really stood out? What was your moment in the show?
I have one.
Brandy, what was your moment in the show?
First of all, I just want to say I will never get over the betrayal, the cancellation of Carnival. I just want to put that out there. People don't talk enough about that. It was a travesty. Anyway,
I'm gonna get a show. We're gonna get a show about that.
I'm so upset by that.
Yeah, we're gonna get a show.
Anyway, I think my favorite, the one thing that I love, was just watching everyone's powers. The fight scenes were impeccably done. I feel like everybody took advantage of the thing that they do extremely well. Morph and watching him pick whichever character would be the most valuable in that situation. Nightcrawler and the 3 swords. I just think that they all did an amazing job showcasing their powers in a way that I'm not a Cyclops fan, I'm telling you, but from that very first episode, I was like, oh, okay, so we're going to see Cyclops powers, not just him and Jean fainting, So that I don't want to get too specific in case anybody else wants to get more in depth with the fights, but I will say that watching the fight choreography and watching all of them use their powers, the way that they use their powers was really nice. It was really refreshing.
Okay, I like that. That is definitely a highlight.
That helps me because I was trying to debate if I was going to pick the fights or what I'm about to say. I agree. I love the fights a lot. I think the fighting styles, watching them fight on this made me realize I don't really remember how they fought on the original show.
Yeah.
Like seeing how they handled this, even like animation styles, like kind of warping a bit to like enhance people's fighting styles, just how
Yes.
stuff was framed, and whether it's like a close up and we're like flying full speed with Rogue, or if it's like cut back and kind of have that like kind of samurai movie feel with like Nightcrawler and Wolverine. I think the way that the powers were showcased felt like the comics, felt like what I would want to see from the comics, and I didn't realize that the original show fell so short until I saw this.
Yeah.
But my thing is the dialogue. Not just like the writing, but the fact that like the way they had each character speak was so distinct that it was really like, okay, like you all kind of, it felt like everybody in the writer's room was like assigned a person, and then like you just had to like speak like that character, you know what I mean? Like Magneto was like obviously like super poetic and noble, but then also you get like the same with like Kurt and his like kind of humility shining through, like the voice acting plus like the dialogue, the word choice, the moments where they chose to call things back, you know, the moments where just the way that like character reveals happen through dialogue, conversations, like even just like the conversation between like Storm and Jean, you know, right, like their conversations, like I didn't realize they was really friends like that for real, but like apparently between the original show and this, like they became very close. So, and you can see that even like Jubilee, like being more assertive and like just like her language being more grown up, and I think the way that they handled like the writing and the characterizations of these characters was so strong. And I think that has always been a strong point of X-Men. It's less about, I mean, the powers are cool, but it's more about interpersonal relationships. It's basically a big teen soap opera for real. And writing it this way,
family drama,
just highlights that even more to me.
Yeah, that's another really good highlight.
Oh yeah. I gotta say, probably so I agree with everything the both of y'all said. They're literally on my list of things. The fights, the heroes were showcased like at their peak. Like they were really, they were fighting an enemy they couldn't hold back against. So even when you see Jubilee do that, and I'm gonna be honest, a lot of what I liked the most about the season was definitely in this finale. It was definitely kind of highlighted in this finale. The dialogue has always been great throughout the show. Like credit, even from the beginning of the season, all of the conversations just seemed really intimate, really meaningful. Everything that happened, it kind of carried along. There was something that they'd give you that little not Easter egg, but you'd get a payoff. There's a setup and payoff from every conversation that's had. There's every relationship has a setup and payoff from the beginning of the season to the end of this. And so I definitely appreciate that. I gotta stop popping up in this microphone real hard because I can hear it all in my headset. But that was definitely big. But the writing at this last episode, I gotta be honest, Bastion's monologue while he was crushing most everybody, that dude, it is a top tier. It is in my top 5 just illest things to say, most gangster shit that I've ever heard a villain say. First off, he was like, why would I join y'all, be down with this equal opportunity suicide? That's nuts right there. I gotta give him credit. He went in on my man Cable, called him the little temporal orphan that could. That's just gangster. I know Cable wanted to cry, talked about his deadbeat dad. He went in on him. But then when he went into the part about people being too good and that how humanity just, pursues these causes about their feelings and won't necessarily do what's best for humanity. The way the binary thinking of machines and how they address humanity's humaneness, that was big for me. And then just the epic moment of, Magneto lives and him just coming out and, just being super powerful. And then that Beast's little oh dear at the end. I love the oh dear. I love that part. So the last episode really, it's a wrap up. It's a great payoff. We'll
talk about it at number 4. No.
Because I don't know what Sam mad about. So we'll get there.
Teresa.
I don't know.
Not sure.
Um,
Okay.
I'm going to no, I have a little something, but I'm going to piggyback off of what Brandy liked. And as far as the fighting style and the fight choreography, I liked because there were moments when all of them were getting on somebody's nerves. They got on each other's nerves, but
Mm.
when the time came to fight, they fought together.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I there are multiple examples, but the way my memory works, I can only come up with one of them at this point,
Okay.
and that is in the first episode with Gambit and Wolverine, with Gambit charging up Wolverine metal. But I know there are other examples, but like I said, I just can't remember. But I like that. It's like, the one person by himself might not be able to quite get it done. But if I come and I charge you up, then, we're going to get it done together. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. And it's funny because that actually kind of goes with what I think I like most about the show. X-Men in the in as far as like the movies and everything have been concerned, have always kind of been about Wolverine. Like every movie somehow revolves around Wolverine.
Mhm.
Even if it's just to get him to cameo in the movie, that's what people are waiting on. Where's this? He's like, where's Waldo? Where's Wolverine in and when you look at the original series, there were so many episodes that everybody got an opportunity to have an episode.
Right.
And they kind of balanced it out. But in these 10 episodes, everybody was the main character.
Mhm.
Everybody had a moment per episode, it felt like, to shine and it kind of be their focus. There would be something in each episode that maybe made this character stand out a little bit more, that character stand out a little bit more. And maybe because the story arc kind of drove towards their moment, but you never felt like anybody was left out. And given that we've already discussed how this is a family dynamic, everybody was teamed up well, they worked as a team. I think the balance in the show where it wasn't just Scott and Jean, their drama. It wasn't just Wolverine and my memories and Saber. It wasn't just the same problems everybody had. They came together to fight a common enemy, and they were a team. And as a result, there is no I in team. Everybody had that balance and everybody had a moment to shine. And I felt like that really helped those moments where it started swaying off a little bit. Boom, we bring this character back in and give you their perspective for it. And then it kind of helps put you in for what you're seeing. And I think being able to balance a show and not have a central hero when you have a team, everybody played their part. And as a result, everything worked the way it was supposed to. And I think that's one of the things that made this show so great. It was a team effort. And it felt
Family.
right, family.
But even I would say even in that too, just like we got to see like our familiar pairings, but we also got to see pairings that we hadn't necessarily seen together, like in the animation, to see like what their friendships and like obviously Morph died in like episode 1, so we never really got to see him and Wolverine's like friendship.
Yeah.
But then we also
Yeah.
get to see like his relationship with everybody. And he kind of is this like strange, like voice of reason for everybody. Cause his role essentially is like, I can be anybody to anyone. And you kind of see him using that, like even using his powers, not in a battle, but like in like how he just navigates life was like really, really fascinating to me. And same thing with like, Jubilee, like you see her obviously with a peer for the first time versus like being little sister tag along in the original series. So yeah, I think that lack of focus on Wolverine, like I'm on record about that, definitely helped. But also just showing us, like you said, like this is a team. These are the dynamics in the team. There's like smaller relationships between people that, I think this writing team did a great job of showing like socially and in combat.
Yeah. The highlight was definitely them in combat, but just in general, the way they interact with one another was a standout. And that was, that kind of even ties back in, as we said, to like the good dialogue. I don't think anybody has any major quips about that. There were some other things that people may have some quips about. And that's what we're going to talk about now. We're going to talk about the biggest issue, and we're going to limit it to one. So I will try to very concisely consolidate my one issue. As we talked about how they were speed running comic arcs and they're able to consolidate so many stories into one show. Season 2 hasn't come out, so I can't predict to say what they didn't do. But if Magneto lives from season 1, we see that there was the tidal wave that took place. I'd already kind of predicted and even admittedly hoped that they were going to get into the Onslaught storyline. The Easter egg that we got caught that post-credit scene. They're definitely moving with Age of Apocalypse, and there might be room. Maybe they're just trying to plant some seeds to get to a season 3, but it's definitely leading up to go Age of Apocalypse because we have everybody kind of displaced through time. And all of those times are going to be relevant to our Age of Apocalypse storyline. The whole conversation between Charles and Magneto that took place in the mine, that is how you get the creation of Onslaught. The adamantium being pulled from Wolverine is the event that triggered Charles to actually take over Magneto's mind. And so the fact that we kind of just resolve that by the end of this episode, it fits for the story that we see on the show. And that's where once you start taking some of those liberties, you have those people much like myself, they're like, well, that's not like the comic. It made sense in their story, so I'm not going to take it away from them. But they made sure to push all those buttons and dot all those I's, cross all those T's, only to say that's not what the words. Maybe we'll still see them get around to Onslaught by season 3. Maybe that's, like I said, just a little sprinkling, planting a seed now that can blossom later. But that misdirect, and that's from that comic knowledge part. Jeff has taught me to focus what I see on the screen. But they definitely leaned into all of the story arc for Onslaught, right to pulling the adamantium out. That was a clear indication of where it was going, and they didn't go. I have to wait and see.
Well, they didn't go there. They didn't go there immediately.
Like I have to wait and see if we get it in season 3. So it's something that could fester.
And at least you know whatever they giving you while you wait for that is probably going to be good. So at least you're not like waiting.
It is.
I feel like the biggest pet peeve is that you lost your money on the bet on how the season was going to end.
Right.
Actually, no.
Like my biggest pet peeve is they ain't do what I wanted them to do.
I had $100 on Onslaught, man. I had $100.
And the thing is, like,
I'm looking for you.
With all the Easter eggs that they were able to put into the show and the, paying tribute to actual comic frames, because they had a lot of scenes in the show that are literally ripped right from the page of comics. And anytime you can do that in a show, that's a beautiful Easter egg. And it's a nice little nod to the fans and things like that. And fans appreciate that. I
just do it sporadically. Do it sporadic. Not like Zack Snyder.
Right, where every panel is the panel that it was.
Yeah.
But and I guess, you know what?
Every frame a painting.
Thank you, Jeff. I think that might be the issue because everything in that story, the way they did it, all of those moments it was multiple panels saying on, and then to not do that was kind of
they kind of gave you the Onslaught in Bastion's final form. They gave him the little wings and stuff like that. That's not. I don't think that's in the comic. The wings and all that stuff.
No, it's not. And they did that.
You got an Onslaught. You
got Onslaught-ish. And to give me that fight taking place at the exact same time that Magneto and Charles are having this conversation, I recognize the subtext there and, the subtleness of what they were trying to present. But the fact that they use that image with Wolverine's adamantium being pulled out, like if you do that, have that scene.
You're supposed to go Onslaught. Don't take the adamantium out and don't do Onslaught. I got you. I feel you. I wanted it too.
And not even from it. Like I said, looking at the way they wrapped up this story, just glossed right past it. It's like, this isn't a Mephisto.
We can't debate. We're not going to debate you, Sam. We're not going to debate. Jeff, I know you want to. I know you want to.
That's my issue.
I'm just having a different interpretation than they gloss past, because I feel like, when you mention the subtext in the conversation that they're having, right? The whole subtext in the show is essentially, can Magneto change? Can Magneto really change? Like, that's what this whole season is about, right? Yeah. If we go to Onslaught,
make me let you down.
Yeah. If we go to Onslaught, then the answer to that is no, he can't. And so then it's like,
we don't know.
Bastion's right. Where's the
Onslaught?
Onslaught is Charles Xavier opening and releasing the darkness in his mind wiped Magneto.
Right. And
so the
that's the world we're trying to prevent.
And this is me Googling Onslaught.
Listen, I'm right with you because I've heard
Brandy
people
just
talking
sitting
about
there
it.
like she don't understand English. She got that smile like.
No, and this is and there again, it's like that is
Well, because I've heard people
That's all I'm
talking
saying.
about this. I do watch people
Nah,
talk about
yeah,
these things,
but it's
so
not.
I
I
know
don't feel like it's necessary
that,
for the
but
show. Yeah,
I
you
don't know
you
the
don't need
story
to know.
like that.
Yeah, you don't necessarily need to. But I understand Sam's.
so
I also
Absolutely.
don't know the. I'm gonna be real. I don't know the Onslaught story like that, so I'm less devastated about it not showing up because
well, and
it's
it's
not
not
something that
even
I have like a connection to at all. So I get there's a difference because like if you're waiting for Onslaught and you like, oh yeah, it's about to be Onslaught, and I love it, I can't wait, and then you come out, it's like, you know,
and the
it's
thing is
Apocalypse, and it's like, oh, Apocalypse was cool,
Well, hold
but
on.
I was really hoping for Onslaught. Like,
going all the way back, and you know what, we'll dive into that separately because
There
my
you
biggest
go, yeah.
issue is the misdirect, showing all of the scenes and all of the stuff that lead to a specific thing, and then writing that out of the story.
Okay.
That is my issue.
Gotcha.
As Cash was saying, all of those conversations having those payoffs, this conversation didn't have that payoff.
Wait a
And
minute. What
because-
conversation? What conversation? A conversation that you thought you knew the end to? Because what conversation did they have on the show that made you think that Onslaught was a possibility if you were somebody who was unfamiliar with the comics?
So to articulate the point I was making, I used the phrase you used. I've already stated very clearly that my issue is everything they showed was going in a very specific direction. They even have the conversation. They talk about Jean, when he's talking to Jean Grey, and she says, if you're still in Magneto's mind, when he breaks, it'll take both of you down.
Correct.
Oh, like there's this major, like, oh my God, it's the worst thing that could possibly happen. They fine. They fine. They fine.
Or you could
Magneto
have thought,
wasn't.
or you
Not-
could have thought that they would have just both died and been catatonic, right? If you weren't aware and you would have heard the phrase, they both could go down, right? See, I had to do the same things. I had to disconnect because I wanted it too. I was like you. I wanted it too, but I had to go, something that's not what the writers put in there. I'm only acting that way because I know the end of the story. It's kind of like the same thing I had to do with Solo, right? I had to disconnect from reading it, right? It's let go and let Disney. Let go and let
What were
Disney.
the other issues anyone else had? Because what we're not going to do is gang on me like I'm mad they didn't do what I wanted.
Nah,
That's not what's happening here. And I'm very aware. No. I'm very aware that I can do that. We watched WandaVision, and I was like, Mephisto.
Mm-hmm.
This
I
is
was
not
with you
that
on that one.
situation. This is not that
no,
situation.
I get what you're saying, Sam. You're saying that like the story that you feel bamboozled and hoodwinked because you have a certain knowledge that these things are supposed to lead to this thing. Like
I've
that
stated
is
specifically,
and I can
it's the misdirect that I have a problem with.
That's what I'm
Not the
saying.
story.
Yeah.
No, I'm agreeing
saying.
with you. I'm agreeing with you, and I'm just clarifying to Cash that it's not that they didn't do it. I'm upset. They put all of the breadcrumb in this show very specifically for people like me who know that part of it, and then
and said, "Stop trying to read ahead. Stay with the class. Stop trying to read ahead. Stay with the class."
And
that's what Bo DeMaio said.
And maybe he did. And I'm saying that you could have written this story without doing it that, because ultimately it still got resolved. The way that they resolved it still makes sense. So I don't have fault with the way the story came out.
Right.
But he did have to do it that way because you know how this industry works. It was probably 1,000 million. This is who Onslaught is. Watch out. Read these comics if you want to know more about what's going to happen next. And next week, Onslaught, all you need to know. 95 Easter eggs about it's like
it happened with that.
It's not him. It's like not just a you thing. It's like no, this is not going to be a thing that you're going to just comic book Simpsons guy your way to being like a gatekeeper of any of this shit. Like we're using it as it's kind of like the MCU, right? Like we use it as a guideline, but we make whatever changes we deem necessary based on the medium that we're working in. And if that includes changing the story, cool. But
we got him defending himself, Jeff. We got him defending himself. We got to go to somebody
We'll go back
else.
and we'll replay the tape where I stated everything you just said.
Yeah, no, I agree.
My personal big issue is the misdirect. If anybody else has a personal issue with this show, now would be the time
There you
I'll
go.
continue to talk about this.
20% of us, 20% of us feel the misdirection was a problem. So there we go. So come on, we got a lot of show, baby. We got a lot of show. Brandy.
I would say my biggest issue was with the finale. I think some of the episodes were a little slow. I wasn't really into the Jubilee episode like everybody was. I never need to watch that episode again. I wasn't one of my favorite things, but I just was like, oh, isn't that convenient? Oh, the Phoenix. Oh, well, that's nice. Where was she when the world exploded? Like, yeah, what? Oh, we just bring her out when we want to. Cool, I got you. All right, we'll do that. There was just certain things in the finale that I just was like, okay, so how convenient. Oh, that's nice that Magneto lives. I love that he lives. I was getting snaps in the air for him living, but also how wonderful that that's resolved. You know what I'm saying? It just felt very like, here's a problem, done. Sinister is this up? No, well, no, he's not a problem. Like, it just seemed like if it was that easy, then why did we go through all of the things? Why did Gambit have to die? Like, what, you know what I'm saying? It just felt very, and I get it. It's a cartoon. It's superheroes. And for the most part, I'm not mad. I watched the episode. I gave him a little snaps. I was very excited in this house by myself when I was watching it. I had a good time. I'm looking forward to season 2, but also I wanted some, if we're going to be resolving things, there's things that I want it resolved. And I get that the apocalypse and the card and now he's going to be death and all this other shit. But why? I don't understand why Gambit had to be dead the whole time. I don't understand why I barely got a piece of Storm. And I'm glad that she came back, and she came back with a vengeance, and bless her heart. But I don't understand why we had to take her out most of the season. Bishop comes back in the last episode. Well, isn't that wonderful? Where you been? How, like, it just, I had issues, and I know that I don't know the comics, and I know that I don't know where the story's going, and I don't understand a lot of things.
They've made it very clear that you don't have to know the comics, because if you know the comics, you're just going to be damn misdirected, and that's not what we're doing around here, right?
Yep. Exactly.
No, I'm with you. I get it. And that's what I was saying. Like, this whole conversation, Magneto is like, this is the worst thing. And then it's like, oh, Magneto lives and is fully aware of the situation taking place at that exact moment.
There it is. How wonderful. On to the next thing now. I don't know.
Yeah, that was definitely wrapped up with a nice little bow so that they could just speed run to get to season 2.
That's how it felt. Like, okay, we gotta move along because season 2. So they better
can I ask you?
Because I'll go to Hollywood like Stewie Griffin.
All right, let me ask you guys a question, because I agree with, like, I do feel like it was good, but it did feel fast, and it did feel like stuff was getting wrapped up. I like the resolution, but for me, sometimes it was like, we need a little more meat in this sandwich. Like, we got bread, one slice of meat and bread, and it'll do the trick. But like, if I could get a couple more slices of that meat in there, that would probably be a much more enjoyable experience. And I think, how would you feel if basically they had taken these episodes, and instead of doing all these storylines in this episode, season 1 had been like basically episodes 1 through 5, but like more fleshed out, but it ends in the Genosha massacre? Do you feel like you would have gotten you what?
Man, felt, because at the end of Genosha massacre, it was like, oh my gosh, like, oh, what is this terrible tragedy? And all of a sudden, it's Bastion. Hey, I got these Sentinel robots, and I can do this, and it was just like, wait, because there was no indication of this previously, and now this is the threat, but Sinister was the threat. Like, it just felt very like, we just need to get to a place. The last 3 episodes was, okay, we gotta get, and I enjoyed them. Do not get me wrong. I was there. I was definitely like, oh, it's Wednesday. Oh, come on. I got shows, but it did.
To me,
and then at the end, it fizzled. It fizzled for me. It just felt very, so basically all we were doing was getting to a point where we could get all of these people in different points in time for whatever reason. I'm sure that like, oh, like Scott and Jean get to raise young Cable. Like, oh, that's wonderful. I'm so appreciative of that. That's amazing for them. They just had this moment and now they get to go back to see him as a little boy. I'm sure those people have relevance that I know nothing about, but like the ancient Egyptians, he took off his mask and I know that was a reveal, but I don't know who that person is. So, yay,
And the funny part is you just don't know that.
Okay, well, because I'm like, so basically, this episode was to get them in these spaces for whatever the reason. And then Wolverine's just at home. I guess he's got, no, he doesn't even have Professor A. He just ain't nobody there. Like, what's going on? He in a coma and there's nobody
He's
to
gonna
turn in.
wake
Like,
up and
I'm
be
just
I think
all
it was him and
alone.
Morph.
Yeah.
Was
I
Morph
think
still
Morph
there?
was
No,
with
I
him.
thought Morph
I don't
was.
think that.
But the thing, they did
No,
not
Morph was with
show
him.
the resolution of where Morph and Wolverine were, because if they were all on the jet and the jet teleported, we got a chance to see Rogue, we got a chance to see Nightcrawler, we got a chance to see Scott and Jean, we saw Beast holding Professor X. We did not see where Wolverine and Morph were, and they were on the
Okay.
jet. And
Okay.
Magneto
But
even
there,
came.
and then I'm like, oh, Iron Man, oh, Captain America. Y'all just gonna sit, y'all just chilling, like
They were there to
in the
protect the
What,
conference
president.
room,
what,
like
what
watching
Captain America
wrestling.
gonna
Like,
do?
What he gonna do?
Yeah,
Take his
Captain America
metal
don't even
shield?
have his shield. He don't even
No,
have
he
a
had it.
shield.
Yeah, he had it.
Oh,
I'm
that's
just
right.
saying, though, they just
Rogue,
like, oh, y'all just
Rogue
That thing in
roof
the
is
hang
out
out
gone.
somewhere.
while all of this is happening.
Rogue
Like,
just roofed it like
Nah.
I just
put it
mean
on a
like,
telephone pole.
so you're gonna show these other heroes? Oh, look, there's Daredevil doing nothing to help. Like, there's
I mean,
Spider-Man in that town. We ain't
the
seen him
cameos were
again.
kind of
Like,
cool. Just
nobody
because
to help
it
it.
sets up
They
a
were
possible.
busy.
Okay, we'll talk. Because again, like,
That's my gripe. It
Yeah,
just
it's all
felt like
right.
a
It's
whole
all right.
bunch for not much in the end.
Yeah.
so it was a one meat sandwich. I like
Yeah.
Jeff's analogy that one meat sandwich.
Yes, it was
Remember that
very
from
much
now
a
on.
struggle sandwich. It was a syrup
Oh,
sandwich.
there it is. There it is.
Syrup Sam.
All right. Anybody else? Any issue?
I
with
want
the
to. I
season?
want to let Teresa. How do you feel? I kind of want to let everybody else do their worst because I got to be honest. It's absolutely. It just lightens my heart up to hear all the hating.
No,
It's
because
beautiful. It's just
I
you
mean,
guys are so good.
you are such a great
What you're
hater.
hating
I'm
on it.
curious what thing
So
you have that I'm gonna put
because it has my
put the
thing that
spotlight
I
on
hate
you.
about the show is
Wait.
all right. Wow,
I
look
want
at
the spotlight on
shit. I wish
Cash.
I had that hair, man.
Go
Oh,
ahead, Cash.
yeah,
I'm gonna give you the
I was like,
spotlight.
oh, like more.
As our resident hater, what was the thing you did not like?
To be honest, it is nothing that you guys so far has been mentioned. I am literally okay with all the things that you guys pointed out, even though initially the speed of how things got resolved was definitely an issue with. The reality is that what I hate about this darn show is a technical thing. Every now and then that animation got lazy as hell. It got to that still frame picture where it's just that's what it's doing.
Ken
It's
Burns
just
effect.
yeah, like what are y'all doing? Like, come on, I know y'all got the bread. Y'all really didn't want to do a couple more frames, and that was, to be honest, that is my biggest issue with the show is the animation. Is that there were times where the animation just seemed a little bit lazy, where they could have probably had a bit more flair to the scene. Wasn't as much as the fights. The fights were the shots were impactful. Whenever somebody got hit, whenever somebody showed the full extent of their powers, it was definitely impactful. I felt it. I'm borrowing that word from you, Jeff. You used that word a while ago, impactful. And I was waiting for an opportunity to use that, so thanks. But that's what it was. All of the fight scenes were incredibly impactful. They were animated really, really well, but there were just other moments where it was just the soap opera effect sometimes. And I was just like, what are they doing? Like, it's just lazy. That literally is it. To be honest, that is my minus and my A minus. Everything else that you guys had an issue with, I can completely justify wrapping up the way everything went. I literally took myself out of the comic dude and knowing where this shit was going. He mad. He really thought he was going to get some shit. You should have known with an A minus. I ain't really had that much to say, and I was trying to hate.
But to me, like the technical gripe, and they definitely have money, and they've obviously spent a lot of the money well and doing a lot of the technical things they did to improve the overall visual quality of the show. Maybe sometimes that was just a budget decision to spend the money on this and not on that.
Well, it's that computer. It's
that frame.
It's that clean computer animation over the old school hand-drawn frame. I'm always going to be a big fan of the hand-drawn frames, of that style that it was back then, before everything had that the computer had a hand. And this, you can tell the computer had a hand in, and it's incredibly, when it's clean, it's incredibly clean. Like, it's too much. Like, I like the dirtiness of it. There's no real motion blur and things like that. So it's little things like that I'm kind of like, why they chose to do it that way, or they linger on a character's face way too long. Like, it was stupid things like that.
You just didn't like the visuals because it didn't look good to you.
Exactly.
Just trying to make sure I understand. It was just the visuals to you.
This is personal. Oh, you like the visuals? Did you like them? Well, I wasn't misdirected by the visuals. I knew
I was trying to make sure that what you saw is what you had a problem with. You had a problem with what you saw.
Oh, that's gonna be Rogue's face for 1.2 seconds. I wasn't misdirected.
Okay. But it sounds like you had a problem with what you saw.
Oh, definitely.
Okay. I'm just we have fun over here. That's okay.
Oh, we definitely do.
So I'm curious. Jeff, was there anything for you? I want to exclude you from a dislike if there's something.
Yeah, I did have a dislike. My biggest dislike is the fact that they didn't just know to make more episodes. Like, not the writing team. I'm talking about the studio. This is one of those ones where it's just like, my brother. Like,
I agree.
We need 10 episodes of this is not.
I agree.
Like,
24 episodes, I think, would have been better to tell the story that they told. Trying to smash everything into 10.
Yeah. 10 30-minute episodes is like
it felt like it.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I would have took 15. Either that, or you needed to do 10 1-hour episodes.
That's what I was thinking. I could have easily sat through an hour of this without like quick,
because essentially this is like 5 hours. It's like 5 hours of television.
Yeah.
And a lot of the things that we were complaining about, like, for instance, if that was stretched out more, I don't think Sam feels so betrayed by the misdirection, because they probably are able to flesh out that conversation with Charles and Xavier a little bit more. And, I don't think, the cameos are as confusing, because you have time to actually, like, give Daredevil a line. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because the reality is, when stuff like, because you've created a world, right, where now the Avengers are more popular in the cultural zeitgeist than X-Men. And so if you're telling the general public that the X-Men are part of the MCU, they're going to watch a whole show about some characters who live in New York and wonder why they haven't seen Spider-Man or Daredevil or any of the other characters that they've been seeing on a much more consistent basis through Marvel. For a lot of people, X-Men are essentially new characters to Marvel at all, because they came in watching the movies.
That's true.
So, but it is also just like Captain America, the only one who get a line. Tony Stark not even gonna say nothing like quippy. Like, we got a little, taste with King T'Chaka. But I think the fact that, like, the studio asked them to, like, tell any measure of, like, a good and cohesive story in 10 30-minute episodes essentially is like, it's just not even like a fair. It's like you ask, and then for them, like, that's part of the reason also why I gave it an A, because that was like part of the difficulty of the task. It's like you ask them to take on something and you're not really giving them all the space they need to, like, work with. And it's like, you give me a tiny home and you want me to move like a six person family in there, and it's just like, we can make it work and lay some pallets out, and it's like, people gonna sleep, people gonna be able to eat, but it ain't gonna be comfortable. We're gonna be spending a lot of time outside. Like, so that was my biggest issue.
Put the mattress on top of the folding chairs when you're not sitting in them.
Right.
I got you. You know what? That's a valid point, and I think we've all talked about.
No, Teresa has not mentioned what she didn't like.
Teresa has.
Don't make that face.
Doesn't really have.
Everybody must contribute. What you ain't like.
She doesn't want you to siphon her hater energy off of her.
I feel like I alluded to it a little bit in my score when I gave it an A minus, and I gave it an A minus because I feel like the final episode was just not it didn't give me what the other episodes gave, because
Mhm.
with all of the other ones I was like, oh, oh, I can't wait till next week. I can't wait till next week. Now, of course, I'm happy that there's going to be another season, but I'm not like, oh, I can't wait till next season, because like Brandy, I don't know who those people at the end of the episode were. So, and it may just be my unfamiliarity with the characters because I don't read the comics, but I'm not as jazzed as I was during the season. And even during the episode, like the whole Bastion thing, for some reason, and I think Sam, you mentioned something about his final form. For some reason, that bothered. Like, because when I feel like they like knocked him down and then he got back up and pulled on I don't know why the whole armor of God came to my mouth, came to my mind, but he pulled on the armor and the metal wings, and
Right.
there was just something about that. I was like, oh, okay, I wonder if this is comic book canon and other people expected this, because I don't know where the hell this is coming from.
It was
Uh,
giving gargoyles.
yeah, it did with the
The metal
What
one
was
that
it? Yeah,
the
Xanatos
metal
used to
wing,
wear.
Xanatos, yeah.
Mhm.
or like I don't know, a stealth bomber or something. But it just that last episode didn't move me like the other ones did. And once again, or when they indicated that they had been moved to a different timeline, I said out loud, because that's what I do. I talk to the TV. I'm like, oh, but did they all go to the same timeline? And then they showed that they did not. Some of them are in the past, some of them are in the future, and I just, I can't be excited about the story continuing because I don't know who those people were. I could tell that, I think or maybe Brandy mentioned when the guy in ancient Egypt pulled down his kerchief or whatever. I could tell that was supposed to be like a big reveal, and I'm like,
Right.
okay.
Did you see
And
season 4?
who, me?
But it wasn't just
Yeah.
me, because I was like,
Yeah, I saw all of the episodes,
Then you
but
know who it is.
I
But
also
see,
mentioned that,
that's the point.
I needed to
It
watch
wasn't clear.
the whole thing again from the beginning because I don't half remember what happened in the first episode. So,
So,
that's just me. That's why I gave it the A minus, because that last episode was just kind of a
Gotcha.
all right,
Gotcha.
I'm going
yes.
to put this last little up here just to make sure that, granted, it's been surprisingly spoiler free despite us doing a season finale. I think we've done a really good job with that, so you can actually enjoy that part of it. But now we're going to definitely get into some spoiler stuff. So if you happen to have watched this part of the show and you're here, spoilers incoming.
Dun, dun, dun,
Would you all
dun.
like to know who the gentleman was when he pulled down the mask?
yes.
Sure.
So I don't have to go back and watch the episode
Apocalypse.
4 again.
That's Apocalypse. Those blue lines that were on his face. If you go back and you think about Big Blue Apocalypse, has the lines up. That's
That's when
Apocalypse.
he was young, when he didn't have all that hair on his face.
As young Apocalypse.
So
Oh.
since Apocalypse is functionally immortal, that even the name Ebon Sur, he's the first mutant. He's Apocalypse,
Oh.
and
Gotcha.
so
Okay.
that's the connection when we see Apocalypse there in the past
Yes.
interacting with mutants. And of course, now he's going to have to deal with Charles's BS and Magneto's BS and him being, back and forth. Which way do I go? He's going to, I'm going to do my own thing kind of bit. And then you flash forward to the post-credit scene where
Yes.
that was also Apocalypse, and of course he reaches down, he picks up the playing card. So there's our Gambit will be back.
And when whoever it was picked up the card and they like dwelled on the card, I was like, that's supposed to mean something to me.
And again, that is Apocalypse. Now that is Apocalypse in the current time, and because that's Apocalypse, like that's today. And if you remember, at the end of season 5, or in the midst of season 5, where they're Apocalypse and Sinister were working together, Sinister tried to betray him. Apocalypse got pushed outside of time. That was essentially how they defeated him.
Mm.
So when you decide to, I wouldn't say do a full rewatch, but there's, I want to say 3-4 episodes just dealing with Apocalypse and the whole out of time bit. You'll get to see that part. That's where we get the connection to Apocalypse and them going in the future, them going in the past. We got young Cable, and that's right before we get to the whole Apocalypse War. So the next season, and I'm not going to speculate because apparently we can't trust what we see. I would think that maybe we were going to be doing, we might be doing, Apocalypse Saga, and it would make sense. He picked up the playing card, and he can obviously, like was mentioned, he could make Gambit Death one of the 4 horsemen. And so, that looks like what they could be doing, but it says to be continued. So we have to wait until the next season to see exactly how they go. And the reason, and not even being funny, but the reason I say that is because we kind of already had the Apocalypse Saga, some episodes that were Days of Future Past in the original series. So I don't see them rehashing that in this. They're definitely going to do something different. What? I don't know. And we'll just have to wait and see.
Isn't that more fun?
We ain't got no choice. Like
that's not the question.
I mean, it's definitely an
gotta
exciting.
go on FanDuel.
I mean, it's definitely exciting, and I'm not saying, like, I absolutely believe, based on everything we saw right there at the end, that they are going the apocalypse all over the page. So how would they not?
What if it's something that we've never seen before?
And
what if they're like, we jammed all that crap into the season just to do all the comic book stories, get it out the way. Now we're gonna do our own thing, like, because they've already, like you said, they've already done Apocalypse. But they ain't did Apocalypse in ancient Egypt.
Absolutely true. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, based on what they show,
they gonna have to invent the wheelchair.
I don't even know.
Just for Professor X to get around.
Yeah, they might best right invent the wheel. Like,
I ain't about to carry you on this bassinet the whole time here.
I got
I'm already in.
Somebody steal a chariot. Somebody hurry up and steal a chariot.
You're carrying like it's my wedding night.
So yeah, I mean it's definitely good, and I am looking forward to whatever they do in season, and I will watch and enjoy, and I'll be there for the ride. What is everyone else looking forward? What's the one thing you're looking forward to in season?
Gambit.
The return of Gambit.
Gambit. I'm so upset and appalled. Like, y'all do not understand how upset I was that he was left out of the movie franchise. And I don't count that little Wolverine. I don't count that, just like I don't count that as Deadpool. Okay, that is terrible, and that needs to be stricken from the record. I was looking forward, believe it or not, to the Channing Tatum Gambit movie because of the way that Channing Tatum was in The Hateful Eight, which I hated, but he was good in it. In that, I didn't even know that was Channing Tatum initially, because he did the accent, and I was just like, oh, okay, so he can kind of, I just wanted to see that, because I feel like he is a character that deserves to be in the show. And I love that he went out a hero. I love, you know what I'm saying, that he was badass during the time that he was there. He was great. He was so understanding and charismatic, even though, people did say he got sunned and maybe he got, treated badly by Jean. He didn't handle that as suavely as he should have, hopped on to the next woman or whatever. But I loved him on the show, and they just took him away, and then he just never came back. And I watched that clip you put in, and you were like, if they're going to bring anybody back, I would rather than bring back Gambit. I stand 100% 10 toes down on that.
See, that was episode 5, and I was even saying then, if they bring Magneto back, the only thing you can do anyway. That was all the way back in episode 5.
I don't mean to bring back.
But no, you're absolutely right, because, and I could agree. I was definitely, and to Jeff's point, if we want to do something new, that was your opportunity to do something. Magneto goes out, essentially a hero in that. Let him stay down. Let Gambit live, and we get something we've never had. Yes. We have no Charles. We have no Magneto. Now you get to tell the story of the X-Men, and you everybody's like, ooh, we going with this, but. I'm not the writer. Wasn't my call.
I want them to bring him back and make him part of
the team. I think we're getting Age of Apocalypse. I think we're getting that storyline. I think you're probably going to get Gambit back, because I think they're going to probably figure out how to get like an Externals involved in there. They got Jubilee. They got Sunspot. So again, this is comic stuff, so the potential is there for them to go that way. How can I put it?
It'll be okay if they don't. That's
right, but I mean, yes, exactly.
That's what you want to say.
It'll be okay.
It will. How can I put it? I've been pleasantly surprised by how well they have been able to kind of mush a bunch of different things together.
Yeah,
And
I can
still
agree with
keep
that.
me interested. I have to keep in mind that this is an X-Men show. So it's not necessarily just like from a Marvel standpoint. I understand the last episode gave us a lot of sightings of different people and non-X-Men, and we see the Avengers, and we get to see, all these different people, but we can't have, I don't think they've established that there's the possibility for crossover storyline. I don't think we'd get a Secret Wars yet or anything like that. I don't think we're gonna get anything like that. But I think it's very possible that maybe we get a strife. Maybe we get a it would be nice to see a strife way to go. But I think we're getting Age of Apocalypse because that's what they teased us with, and the whole timeline. Yeah, well, something. Here's the thing: I'm not putting money. I'm not putting money on it. So I'll be, if it doesn't happen, I'll be like, it won't be.
Apocalypse, and you came back and you did something else. Where's Apocalypse? What?
Why do you keep playing with my emotions?
Why are we facing the juggernaut?
It's just
I'ma just to next season.
Clarity. Right.
Who is that man? Say his name.
I just
Yeah. I mean, and honestly, it is one of like 3 minutes. That was just fan service. Didn't even have to happen.
Teresa was like color purple. I don't know them. I don't know them.
No. Real talk. Think about it. If they had just showed to be continued. What? What kind of a cliffhanger is that? But we already know it's a season 2, so we know that we're going to get resolution. You didn't have none of that other stuff. No confusion. Would have been a good for a cliffhanger. That's
enough to handle a cliffhanger of that magnitude in these times.
Now I will say, if the series hadn't been announced with 2 seasons. This was season 1. That's the cliffhanger, and we're waiting to hear if they're getting a season 2. Oh, absolutely! I would have lost my mind. Do you know how pissed I would have been? Straight.
C plus.
You can't end the show like that. I would have been the first. Announced it was announced. So whatever. I mean, this is true. I'm not going to argue the logic. I'm just telling you.
If I all summer waiting on the next season to come back, tell these motherfuckers where they land.
Chill out. No, you know what? And honestly, that might be something we really when they do stuff like this now. Because it is a different day and age in terms of media. Because back in the day, when you watch a TV show, hell, when we watched the original X-Men, if they killed somebody at the end of the episode and it said to be continued, that next episode came on whenever the hell it came on. And if it never came on,
maybe next week.
Oh well. If you got reruns all summer and you got to wait till the fall, right before school start catching the new episode. If
you miss it, you may never see it again.
Right. I know, right? And be mad because everybody will talk about it.
And then the next week it'll be previously on X-Men. It's like, I didn't see none of this.
When did this happen?
It's like, I thought I'd seen every episode of this show. Apparently.
No idea what's happening.
Wasn't no little thing on the screen that was telling you what season and episode it was.
Right.
Like whatever episode of X-Men came on, that's what came on. The only time you knew for sure is when they did the Phoenix Saga.
There wasn't even an internet to be able to look up an episode guide. So
yeah.
I mean, I could definitely see how, like in today's day and age, you can't get away with putting a cliffhanger. They will immediately roast you online, and you'll get all.
Oh, you didn't have a real ending,
right? Oh, you know what? It felt
make the asteroid disappear. Ooh.
It felt forced. That was a cop out. That was a cop out. They took the easy way out. That's lazy writing. Time travel, lazy writing.
Sex.
I mean, you know what? It's funny because I'm on both sides of that fence. arguing with my damn self. So I get it. I see both sides.
Wow.
Jeff,
The thing,
what you looking forward
Sorry,
to?
go ahead.
the thing that I'm most looking forward to is just the expansion of the Marvel animated universe. There's no way they're showing us all these cameos and we not gonna get some. The choices of some of the cameos were interesting, like
Yes.
Cloak and Dagger with
I caught that immediately.
Daredevil. I'm like, that's interesting.
Yes.
Like, what are they up to? Like, I don't necessarily want to see a Doctor Strange Doctor show.
Yeah, I was like,
animated.
he's still operating.
That's cool. That's cool. We sprinkle him in whatever Avengers show we gonna do coming up. But
Strange Vision.
what I'm definitely interested in is this T'Chaka Black Panther universe.
Gray
what
Panther.
they got going on over there. Yeah, Silver
The
Fox
Gray
Panther.
Panther. Yeah, because they ran out of ink when they was covering Black Panther's
I
outfit.
looked at first because I was like, oh, is that? And I was like, no, that's T'Chaka. Okay,
Yeah.
so where's T'Challa? Because I still haven't had my
Exactly.
Storm T'Challa
Young
situation.
T'Challa in school in America. He on the white
Mhm.
girls right now, but
Ouch.
in the comic book he
I was about
was
to
in
say,
college.
Oh, yeah, it's
comic
true, yeah.
canon. Like,
Yeah, that was
It's
I
true.
can't
Nah.
believe he would go to HBCU. That just seems so counterproductive. He would go to Howard.
I don't know.
man. Them Africans ain't sending their kids over here to go to Howard.
Let me tell you
You are a
something.
disappointment to me. All you do is
Howard.
let me down. You go,
I don't know.
you
I
go
can
to
see
America,
he's
and all
smart
you do
enough.
is
He
go.
would get his
You go to the
doctorate.
parties.
I can see him at Morehouse.
That is not what we sent you there.
Just saying, like
No berries for you. You don't get flowers when you come home, so you know.
familiar
Now-
territory for him.
That's kind of funny, Jeff, because you had said like we're seeing all these different expanded Marvel MCU, and it just fits, and it'll be okay. But I'm just saying,
There's your wings.
Okay.
That's
just saying.
There's
Bastion's
the
final
wings. I
form.
see.
That's
I'm
Bastion.
Okay.
just saying. That
That's
says
Bastion.
X-Men / Avengers. I let it go.
What are you saying?
I'm,
Go ahead.
that says Onslaught right there.
Yeah.
And that says X-Men Avengers Onslaught.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, as you were mentioning, all the people that they've shown, all of the various various Marvel characters, Cloak and Dagger, Daredevil. We had Mary Jane and Peter looking in the window.
Silver Samurai, T'Chaka,
Psylocke.
Captain America. So, given that, that was that
Omega
X
Red.
Force? No, that wasn't X Force. That was it
I
was
think
one of
that
the
was
other X teams.
Is that Excalibur?
Yeah, I
Psylocke is on?
think that was because that was Puck, and that was definitely Psylocke. So, but given that we have all this expanded universe, a villain that may threaten everybody, he was right there, and everything that I was looking at on the screen at the time, that's what it was saying. And then they decided that was not what they were saying, and I was like, okay, well, I guess that's not what we're saying. Cool.
I mean, sometimes people say stuff and then they don't say what you expect them to say.
Yeah,
They be
sometimes
lying,
don't.
bro. They be
You know?
lying to you.
So it's
Disney
just-
lie.
And it's not even that they lied. Like I said, it was the way they resolved everything fit the story they were telling. Okay,
He might show up again.
he might. I mean, technically, he hadn't shown up yet. So, like I
There
said,
you go.
it's
There you
something that
go.
could happen. In
How can
season
we
3.
miss what we never had?
We don't. We ain't missing nothing because it wasn't there. That's why I said maybe they're just planting the seeds now to get it in season 3.
The harping is spectacular.
So, I mean, I'm thinking Age of Apocalypse. Cash thinking Age of Apocalypse, but we'll have to see what they do because they can do whatever it is they want to do. Anybody got any final points?
Nah,
That's
this was
not a dig at me because I can see
No.
both of y'all figured out.
No,
how to try to steal
I was gonna say, despite even how much we have talked critically about some of the things we didn't like, I feel like the fact that we all rated it so highly, especially in the beginning of the show, like honestly, I feel like we talked about what we didn't like more because if we talked about all the stuff we did like, we would probably be here all night.
Facts.
Because there was just so much, like episode by episode. I think just honestly like a masterful outing at basically creating what I think is going to now be the cornerstone for a Marvel animation movie.
Oh, yeah.
Which DC, this has been the thing y'all been saying for years and years. Marvel can't do now. when we start getting these other shows and we get we get an animated MCU that's shows and not just random movies every couple years, and the MCU movies is good, and the MCU live action television shows I think are going to be better because we're doing less of them. What y'all gonna do? James Gunn.
I mean, that put a lot of pressure.
Yeah, they
Like
have.
you can't fall back on the animation no more.
I don't know.
Hopefully it's good for business.
Even I hope it causes everybody to step their game.
Yes.
Because if
but also you on notice, like you not like on some we'll see what happens anymore, because y'all had the one thing and it seems like between like what if, between this, and they got more stuff that's coming up, and they're going to be doing more stuff like this moving forward. Especially like this to me feels like if they flesh out almost all those cameos and just do some shit like X-Men, but for those characters, the same tone, the same like aged up approach, the same even the wonky parts of the animation aren't wonky enough for me to not like the show. So if y'all do something like that, if y'all do something like that, I mean, we're gonna start talking about rivaling Justice League and Batman animated series, and it's like Superman's pulling up the rear on that anyway. Like, so that's not really helping y'all. And I'm not talking about the character, I'm talking about the animated series in House of Cards.
Yeah, no.
I don't want to say them to get. I gotta clarify around the one Superman.
I knew exactly what you meant when you said that one. Like, no, because Justice League Unlimited, Batman the animated series, and the Superman animated.
Yeah.
It's a plus one in that conversation.
Yeah, like, we appreciate the honesty.
Like, I'm not even going front. That's a plus one in that conversation.
Because some of y'all be like, no, see, y'all don't understand. Like, y'all missing it. And we didn't miss it, brother.
No, the only thing I appreciated was they actually went through, and it was more than every episode wasn't Strongman Punch. Past that, the best parts of Superman animated were in just absolutely.
Yeah. So if they end up picking up that 90s Spider-Man series, if they give us I like the idea of a Daredevil cartoon. That can be your cameo cartoon right there.
Street level.
You're already doing the Daredevil show.
Born Again, but given that the animation is not tied to the animation is separate. Yeah. And I think we even talked at one point how it was said like
maybe they could do Green Lantern.
What they do here, they have the free reign because they're not restricted by what's happening in the MCU. Yeah. And since they don't have that restriction, like in this, we're not talking about a snap. We got original animated Spider-Man Peter Parker standing in front of the mirror, like. And we saw those little cameo mentions at the beginning of the series when they had that very first newspaper that said the Daily Bugle. We knew then.
We saw him.
Right.
Yeah, he was on the roof when Magneto lit off
the DCU. You said, what are they going to do? I'm saying they should do Green Lantern.
Oh, absolutely.
If they did a show, like a real show with the whole movie. Yeah, I think that would be the punch.
Well, and
they're gonna have to start doing some series. They're gonna have to start doing some animated series. We could do a whole show on what DC got to do now that
like the Marvel 97 has raised the bar for what we are looking for or expecting out of an anime. It shows that you can make it more mature, you can make it serious and still make it good. You can do it in 30, and you can have good writing, good dialogue, good animation.
And it doesn't have to be childish. Like it can be more adult, which is I think opens a door.
Yeah.
My biggest concern is that they've done the shit out of Avengers animation. There are about 4 to 5 different Avengers animated series done in different art styles, that cover a lot of different adventure stories. My biggest concern is how willing is Disney and Marvel willing to stick to what the formula that they have with X-Men 97 and be willing to branch out into those other characters. That's my biggest concern. Are they willing to take that risk and go, okay, we're going to go back to the drawing board, reintroduce another Spider-Man reintroduce these characters with the same level of writing, which now they got to hope to capture because they got rid of the first guy. So can they, get that lightning in a bottle that they got with, this season, and hopefully, it shows through in the second season, and then deliver that same type of entertainment and hook, setup and payoff that they did with this. And that's the one thing that I'm maybe that's the hater side of me going, my optimism is incredibly low when it comes to that. I feel like the bar was not that high for this show, and that we're, there's a big nostalgia factor. There's a lot of things that if prior series had not came out and we were not familiar with the prior series, I don't necessarily know if we'd be looking at this through the same lens, that we would be so forgiving about the quick resolution to how how episodes go, and how they do cram a lot, how they do cram a lot of storyline into these 30-minute episodes. But if they do take that risk, I feel like they have set the tone, that they have shown that it is possible, and that hopefully they do expand into some of these other characters. Let us get the Marvel recapture that Marvel magic that we had, from phase one.
Yeah. That would definitely be. I agree with the formula. I question though, if there had not been the original show, I don't know that the X-Men 97 would have been written the way that it was. With it being a continuation of the original story, they already have, we'll say, a solid foundation to build from, and they don't have to do a lot of explaining, backstory, catch up, recap. Because technically, this is coming in as season 6, basically.
Exactly.
And because it comes in as season 6, all of these things are already established. Because if you did not watch the original show, you get enough of what's going on in that first episode to know that, okay, yeah, I remember. So isn't Professor X? So he's gone? He died? Like they kind of cover it enough, but a lot of the show is based on the fact that first show did it.
But I mean the format. So I mean, it contains that same cartoonish, here's conflict resolution, side conflict resolution, set up for conflict for next episode, end of episode. That kind of format we don't really see a lot of. We're used to that from the 90s and earlier cartoon, but not necessarily through something that we see now. Everything is the storyline gets the storyline gets carried. The episode can carry one major conflict all the way through for the next 26 minutes. This doesn't do it that way. It sticks to the old comic, the old cartoon format. So that's why I said, would we be looking at this, even if they hadn't written it? Let's just say we didn't have the prior 5 seasons and they were just trying to start this. Then would we still, look at it through the same lens? Would we still like it? Would it still hit as hard? Or do we feel that way because here's the bar you have to meet. You have to meet this bar of what the previous 5 seasons did set. I don't need the exposition. This is
what I would say about that. I feel like the old show is not great.
Right.
Like it does not hold up as well. It was great. It was great when I was watching it. I loved it when I was a kid. I won't mind rewatching it. I've rewatched it a couple times. It just doesn't hold up necessarily in terms of like animation quality, writing, etc. Right. But so what I'm doing when you're saying that is like I'm imagining, okay, like how would that Sentinel episode, the first episode when we meet Jubilee, be written? Had this writing team done that? Because if there's no original episode, I'm just imagining let's say they start at the same place, right? Mm-hmm. Like they start at Jubilee, finds out she's a mutant at the mall, we meet the different X-Men, et cetera, et cetera. I can imagine that going way better with this writing team. And I feel like that situation would have been handled much better. I feel like a lot of those fight scenes would have been like Gambit fighting a Sentinel at the mall with this animation versus the original animation. So if I'm going through and I'm comparing like the quality of the things that they actually did do, I feel like they built off of the nostalgia, but they raised the quality of what they were doing as well. Like the overarching X-Men stories were super fascinating. The powers that they had were like interesting. But the way that the cartoon showcased them, once you see it done this way, it's like
out more than we saw him cutting.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's like, to me, I understand the trepidation, because it's like it could very easily go Ninja Turtles 2 Secret of the Ooze, where it's like the first one was like this gritty, like fun, little bit dark one. And the next one, we just trying to sell as many fucking Happy Meals as humanly possible on this one. No, Michelangelo can't use nunchucks anymore because we don't want, like, the focus groups and the think tanks come in and start talking about why people loved it. And I'm hoping what ends up happening is they just go into that writer's room and be like, all y'all was here when Bo was here. Y'all saw what he did. All right, you're black. I need you to come over and work on this T'Chaka show. We'll get a couple of the white guys to come write Avengers. And then everybody else, you guys stay on X-Men for now. As we expand, we'll get somebody on Daredevil, but hopefully they're just smart enough to do that and be like, let's build this cohesive universe. And I feel like
Hope so too.
Kevin Feige being involved in it is going to help that and aid that. Like, that's, in my opinion, if there's anything that he's great at, it's getting large stories organized. And it's like, we saw Marvel, the MCU fell off when he kind of took a bit of a step back on doing all that.
Sure.
It's like, it's not easy to corral that much narrative and that much storyline and weave it and wrap it around each other without it getting convoluted and unnecessary and asking, why is this person here? Like, I never asked that one time this entire season of like, why is this person here? In the beginning, I was kind of like, why is this person, what good would this person do on the team? And then they get in battle and you're like, oh, and then by like episode 3, I never have that question, because everybody who goes, it's like, I'm gonna see why they're there. They're gonna show it to me. It's not just gonna be like, okay, Gambit gonna throw one card just so you remember he's there. It's like, no, they doing special moves. They doing X-Men Voltron without becoming Voltron. It's like, clearly y'all been practicing.
Let our powers combine.
Right.
So I'm definitely excited and looking forward to the next season. I think everybody, it's safe to say, we're all looking forward to season 2. I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm looking forward to season 3 because I don't know. I'm gonna get. I don't know what I'm gonna get what I want in season 2. We do an Age of Apocalypse, and I'm ready for us now. I'm definitely excited about the show and hope that they get as many episodes as they need, get as many shows as they need. I would actually like next season, like you said, the first one did really well with 10 episodes. Increase their budget, give them 15 episodes, let them expand, let them write a little more. I think everyone would
or make them 45-minute episodes instead of just 30.
Whatever you do, just give them a raise, give them some more money, and let them make more of it, and you will be happy for it. Because I got an X-Men 97 shirt on, not an X-Men shirt. I have an X-Men 97 shirt,
specific,
right? And it was like I wanted the right credit to be given. That's what it is. And so, well, we hope that you have enjoyed this season 1 review. We are GrownAGeeks. I was joined this evening by a wonderful cast. We had Kennedy with us, we had Brandy with us, Cash, Jeffrey, and I'm Sam. Make sure to follow us, hit the subscribe, hit the like button, make sure to hit the notification bell. Find out whenever we have more of this piping hot content coming your way. You're welcome to click that QR code right there. That'll take you to everywhere you can find the group. But for GrownAGeeks, are out of here. Peace.